Hi, my name is Case Robertson. I am 15 years old and I go to Dietrich High School and will be a sophomore this upcoming year. Some things I like to do are play basketball. As you can see, all these pictures on the left side are me playing basketball. This is me winning the JV championship with my team. This is just some pictures with my family. And this is of me playing basketball again. This is my fourth year doing sugar beets in the Far Out 4-Hers Club, and my project this year is how to make tonnage estimates for your field right here. The first way to estimate tonnage in your field is by number one, stand count. Just to clarify, this is a picture of a bad stand count, a picture of a good stand count. So what this has to do with estimating for tons in your field is there's two ways to do it. You can measure 100 feet and count how many beets are in that. You want to get around 140 to 240 beets in that measurement. And the second way is to measure 10 feet in 10 different spots, and then you can count how many beets are in that measurement. And that one you want to have in between 14 to 24 beets in each spot that you do that count at. Sometimes if you have a lower stand count in your field, but it ends up being a good year, then the beets will grow bigger in those thinner areas that you didn't have beets in, and it will compensate for the beets that weren't there to begin with. But if you have a field that is really struggling and the stand count is way lower than it should be, then it is very likely that it will affect your tonnage come out lower just because there aren't as many beets. And there will be a few of those this year just due to us having a challenging spring. On the other hand, if you have a good stand count with the right amount of beets in each count, which I say would be around 16 to 20 or 160 to 220, just depends on the way you do your stand count. This is just because it is the mean of those two estimates and like the middle, so it's probably the best. You will most likely have good tonnage if you have in between that, unless it is a super bad year with diseases or other things that could affect your beets. The next way you can estimate your field tonnage is by looking at historical information from years before. I talked with Bryce Dayton and he told me that he looks at farmers' average data of tonnage from 5 years ago and then compares it to how the year's been. For example, if we have a year that has been more, that has had more challenges for the sugar beets, like disease, or if the stand counts aren't as good, then that will play into estimating the tonnage of your beet field, which will probably be a lower estimate due to not having as many beets. And Bryce also told me that last year, in the month of May, we had a 3-week time span where it was super cold and he had to lower everyone's tonnage just because it was a bad year and everything. The next thing that you want to do is you want to look into heat units to see if we've had a lot of those, and if we have, then the beets will grow bigger just due to having more sunlight than usual. So basically most of it is just based on how the year went and what your previous averages were from years before. In addition, you can go look at your beets and just like see if they are bigger than average or just average or small. And you can base that off of your historical averages too. You can also base your estimate off of if you planted early or late, just because if you planted early, they're usually bigger due to having more time to grow. If you planted late, they will obviously be smaller from the lack of time to grow. In addition, you should also get an idea of when you will harvest, just to know if the beets will have time to grow bigger, be smaller, and what the weather will be like during that time, to know if you will have to harvest early or late. But at the end of the day, you just have to remember that it's really just a guessing game and it isn't exact science, but you try to make or take into consideration each little factor and get it as close as you can. The last way that you can estimate your tonnage is by a formula that Brody Griffin actually made, and it says right here that if you measure 11.875 feet or 142.5 inches in a row, and then dig those beats and weigh them without the tops, obviously, the weight in pounds equals the tons per acre. And you want to do that in multiple places and then average all the outcomes in the field for greater tonnage accuracy. Because if you go to only like one place in your field and you aren't going to get enough information as you would if you go to different places spread out across your field. So I'll talk about my project over here. This is of me planting the beets, and right here I'm checking water with my little sisters, and my dad took me out to go look at my beets to check if they have any diseases or what those would look like. And yep, that's my project.